My entitled husband disappeared after a boys' trip. Years later, he showed up at my doorstep with a baby, so I destroyed his life. I used to be happily married to my husband for over 4 years. 4 freaking years, and he left it all behind anyway. We never had any problems in our relationship. But right after we got married, we found out that I can't have kids. My egg count was extremely low. That was a very big shock because we had both agreed that we wanted at least 2 kids of our own. It even had me go into depression, from which I luckily recovered, thanks to therapy. Over the 4 years, I tried to get him to agree to other options, one of which was adopting. But he denied everything, insisting that he was fine even without kids. That was surprising and unbelievable because before marriage, he would always tell me how much he wanted kids. He would literally sit for hours and look at stuff he wanted to buy for his future child. But after that day at the doctor's appointment, he became completely numb to anything baby-related. He would often make offhanded comments about me, insulting my weight and lack of fitness. But when I confronted him, he would deny everything and claim that everything was normal. His change bothered me at the start because I thought he was forcing himself to accept reality, but as time went on, I forgot about it and moved on. Then came the big moment. He planned a trip. We lived in Brighton, which is in Europe, and he wanted to go to America for a trip with his friends. This wasn't the first boys' trip he had gone on, so I was very supportive of him. I even helped him pack and bought him new clothes to wear on the trip. Little did I know, he had a crazy plan cooking inside his head. After dropping him at the airport, I went home and stayed up so I could call him and make sure he was safe when he landed. After 9 hours of drinking coffee to stay awake, I checked that his flight had landed and called him to make sure. The ringtone rang, but he didn't pick up. I tried a few more times and even texted him about it, but still, there was no reply. Thinking he was tired and had gone to sleep at the hotel, I also tucked myself into the bed. But since I was still extremely worried about his well-being, I kept waking up and checking my phone for updates. In the morning, I noticed that he still hadn't called back or replied to my texts. After trying for a few more minutes, I called his sister to ask if he had talked to my husband. He hadn't, so I decided to call my husband's friends who were supposed to be on the trip with him. That might sound very invasive, but I genuinely thought it was an emergency. For the longest time, I have had a fear of my plane crashing into the water, and I didn't want my husband to go through that horrible fate. But when I called his friends, guess where they were at? They were 2 blocks away, having morning tea at a cafe. I thought it was a silly prank and I was being messed with.